So, if you all were wondering who probably the worst fully evolved Pokemon from Gen 7 would be, I'm afraid it might be Crabominable. And originally I thought his name was Crabdominable, so like your ab muscles, but it's actually Crabominable, which is not only a mouthful, but it means an abominable, like the abominable snowman. And it's also a crab, so, you know, genius naming. But anyway, if you look at his stats first, you'll see that we have yet another slow physical attacker. So this generation is absolutely full of them. Like I've said in other videos, I don't know if there's any other generation that has this many Pokemon with speeds below like base 50, but with attacks above like base 100. But anyway, this Pokemon is both the fighting and ice type, so two great offensive types. So if it were fast, it would be crazy good. Unfortunately, it's only base 43 speed, so it has 6 weaknesses and only 3 resistances, one of those resistances being ice. But its abilities are Hyper Cutter, Iron Fist, and Anger Point, all of which are decent, I suppose, but really none of them stand out. Iron Fist is good because it boosts punching moves and it boosts dynamic punch, but with the low accuracy, it's really not useful. Hyper Cutter can prevent Intimidate, which is, if Intimidate users are more common in this generation, maybe that could help. But Anger Point, you know, is completely situational, and I really doubt it'll be used very much at all. So the set I came up with, and I know most of the sets I've come up with so far are some kind of super physically offensive Pokemon, but there's really not a whole lot else you can do with these. So I made just straight up power. Max attack, max HP choice band with adamant nature. The attack Ice Hammer is exactly like the move Hammer Arm, except it's ice type. So it's 100 base power, but it's ice type, and it lowers your speed after you use it, which I don't think this Pokemon's binding too bad. So that would probably be the first thing I would run. It also gets both Close Combat and Superpower, which could both be useful on it, and it depends on whether you want to lose your both defenses or lose attack. So I assume more people would run Close Combat. It also gets both Pursuit and Crab Hammer, Stone Edge, and Earthquake. Those moves are all pretty much interchangeable. I thought Pursuit may be good because maybe the Pokemon that you came in against would want to switch out against you, but where it's so slow, I'm just not sure if that would be as useful. Crab Hammer is decent water coverage, even though it's a bit inaccurate. Stone Edge and Earthquake are there because rock and ground coverage is some of the best coverage to have on a Pokemon, even if you have some accuracy problems with Stone Edge. Other moves, it gets Dynamic Punch, which, like I said, it would get boosted by Iron Fist, but it's so inaccurate it's really not worth using. It also gets Rock Tomb, so you could slow your opponent down, but since you're only 43 base speed, you're probably still getting outsped in one shot. And then it also gets Rest and Sleep Talk, which I thought, since its bulk is not the absolute worst in the world, even though its special defense isn't exactly shining, maybe you could set up some kind of Rest, Sleep Talk, and Ice Hammer, and some kind of fighting coverage that doesn't reduce your stats, but I don't see this Pokemon getting used very often at all. I mean, maybe something amazing will happen in the meta. I'm hoping to use a Hail team as my first competitive team because of all the buffs it's getting, but this is probably the last Ice type I would ever consider putting on my team. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm excited to see it in action, whether it does anything or not.